Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Fortin. I'm the Director of Promotion for the Maine Tax Portal here at Maine Revenue Services. I'm joined by our panelists from the Income and Estate Tax Division, Lisa Grayton, Deputy Director, and Jeff Bragdon, Tax Section Manager. We also have Jason Marple, Senior Tax Examiner from the Compliance Division. And it's my pleasure to be your MC for our webinar on individual income tax for the new Maine tax portal that became available on October 10th, 2023, which marked our third rollout of the Maine tax portal. The portal is now open for individuals and for most Maine businesses to file, pay taxes, view notices, and much more. You can visit the MTP information page at maine.gov/revenue/portal to learn when you can get started for your specific tax type. I'll give you that web address again. It's maine.gov/revenue/portal. And before Lisa, Jeff, and Jason get started with their presentations, I have a few housekeeping items to review with everyone. First, the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen will not be used for today's session, although you'll have many opportunities to ask questions. Attendees can simply communicate with Lisa, Jeff, and Jason by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Our panelists will answer as many questions as possible, and if we're unable to address your questions live, then we will follow up via email following the webinar. There may be times when you'd like our presenters to repeat a step that you've missed, or simply maybe you're unable to watch the entire session today. So therefore, it'd be helpful to know that today's webinar has been recorded and can be viewed by anyone who's registered. There are no documents or presentation materials that you'll need for today's webinar. Feel free to take notes, but know you can always watch the recorded session anytime you'd like to review the material. And finally, we should be reminded that there can be unexpected technical challenges, and we need to remember our presenters are all speaking to you live, so we do appreciate your understanding and ask for your patience if we should have any technical difficulties. That concludes all of our housekeeping items, but one last point is, along with Lisa, Jeff, and Jason today behind the scenes, we have Tyler and Lydia helping us with the demonstration of the Maine tax portal. So we'd like to thank them for their assistance. Lisa, let's get started.
Thank you, Mike, and hello to everyone who took the time to join us today. We're excited to join you to discuss and demonstrate a new Maine individual income tax filing and payment opportunity. As Mike mentioned, you will receive an email with a link to this recorded presentation tomorrow. Please take advantage of rewatching the video, as we are going to cover a lot of material today. I would like to address some commonly asked questions right up front. First, if you have a tax preparer who electronically files your Maine income tax return using tax software, you do not need to create a Maine tax portal account for your preparer to continue to file this way. Your preparer does not need to create a portal account to file for you either. The tax preparer just continues to file returns in the exact same manner as before. Second, if you file your own Maine income tax return using TurboTax or a similar tax software program, you do not need to create a Maine tax portal account for you to continue to file that way. Third, if you use the prior MRS iFile system to file your Maine income tax returns in prior years, you do not need to create a Maine tax portal account to file using the Maine tax portal now. We will show you how to file a return using the portal during today's presentation. Fourth, you do not need to create a Maine tax portal account to make an estimated tax payment. We will show you how to make an estimated tax payment during today's presentation. Fifth, if you have already had a username for the prior iFile or Easy Pay systems, that username did not transfer over to the Maine tax portal. You may choose to create the same username and password in the portal now for convenience of remembering it, but you will have to take the steps to create it. Okay, you've just heard me mention many do not statements regarding portal username creation. So let's cover what is possible. There are so many other aspects of the portal that are helpful to Maine taxpayers, so we encourage you to check it out with us. In today's presentation, we're going to touch on 6 major topics. First, we'll demonstrate how to make quarterly estimated tax payments. Second, we'll demonstrate how to file a simplified property tax fairness credit and sales tax fairness credit 1040ME return using the portal. We will refer to this as the PTFC STFC for the remainder of today's presentation. Third, we'll demonstrate how to file a more complex 1040ME return using the portal. Fourth, we'll demonstrate additional features of the portal, such as how to check the status of your 1040ME refund. Fifth, we'll demonstrate how to create a Maine Tax Portal username. And sixth, we'll demonstrate how to make payment arrangements on past due debt. Throughout today's demonstration, we will use fictitious taxpayer information and our testing environment. Let's begin the first demonstration, how to make quarterly estimated tax payments. So you can locate the Maine tax portal in 2 different ways. Directly from our MRS website at maine.gov/revenue, which is what appears on your screen here, and locate the Electronic Services drop-down menu. Or directly from the MRS website using the green Maine Tax Portal square. Once you're on the Maine Tax Portal, you will see a panel located in the upper right portion of the screen, which allows a user to log into the portal, as well as many panels of non-logged in actions that could be taken further down on the screen. So before we continue, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that all of the links located below the image of the State House do not require creation of a username or logging into a portal account. We will cover so many easy uses of the portal today where you do not need a username. I'll say that one more time. 95% of your use of the portal when it comes to individual income tax will not require a username. Okay, so we are going to navigate to the panel titled Individuals, and we will click on Make a Payment. This selection allows a taxpayer 3 payment choices. You may make a bill payment on a past due debt. You may make an estimated or extension payment on a future tax period. Or if you are a real estate closing agent, you may remit a real estate withholding payment. Today, we will choose estimated/extension payment. I would like to restate an earlier point. Please notice that we have not logged into a portal account with a username to begin making this payment. Okay, so continuing on, we see a drop-down menu for the type of payment that we're making. We will choose estimated tax payment. We also choose the tax account type we are paying towards, which is individual income tax. And then we select the tax year, which is tax year 2024. We will input the Social Security number of our taxpayer twice for confirmation. Then we'll input the taxpayer's first and last name, as well as his telephone number. Now, please notice the additional lines on the screen for spouse information. If this payment had a spouse that was applicable, we would enter their social and their name on the appropriate lines. In our scenario, we don't have a spouse, so we'll leave that blank and we will select Next. We'll provide the address for Paul. And once that is complete, we will click the blue verify link at the bottom of the screen to verify that the address meets U.S. Postal Service formatting requirements. Once it's verified, it does tell us that, and so we can select Next to continue. We enter Paul's bank account and his routing information. We also have to designate whether this account is checking or savings. Then we input the date that Paul wishes MRS to take this payment from his account. We can either select the date using the calendar icon, or we can type the date in directly. Let's type in April 17th, 2024, as we're scheduling our first quarter estimated payment for Paul's 2024 individual income taxes. Then we input the amount of $1,000, and then again to confirm. And we'll choose Next to continue. We are given the opportunity to review a summary of our payment request. The information is correct, so we will select Submit to transmit this request to MRS. We are asked to input a valid email address. This allows MRS to email the confirmation number to you for your records. And the confirmation screen displays the email address previously input as well as the assigned confirmation code. This will match the email message that you receive, and we do encourage you to save this information for your records as it is your proof of payment. If we were going to set up the other 3 estimated tax payments at the same time, we would just repeat these steps for each payment, inputting the each date that we wished MRS to take that next payment out for. Okay, let's go back to the main tax portal home screen and that individuals panel one more time. We've reached the second point of our demonstration, where we will now file a simplified PTFC STFC 1040 ME return. In this individuals panel, we will click on File an Individual Return. We are brought to a new screen with additional choices. I would like to take this opportunity to point out 2 improvements that the main tax portal brings to taxpayers as compared to our prior iFile system. We can see that it is possible to file a 1040 ME return for the current tax year plus the prior 2 tax years. Our prior system was limited to current year only. Secondly, it is possible to file using any marital status plus any residency status, including part year or non-resident return options. We are incredibly excited to offer this to you. So during today's filing session, we will file a 2023 PTFC STFC return for our fictitious taxpayer, Mary Young, a retiree who receives Social Security pension and pays rent for her apartment. We select the File an Individual Income Tax Return for 2023 link. Again, I'd like to restate an earlier point. Please notice that we have not logged into a portal account with a username to begin this filing. We don't need a username to file an individual income tax return. Continuing on, we see a screen that provides us with instructions regarding the information needed to successfully complete this filing. This is a good time to mention that if you have to step away from your computer at any point in the filing process, that your main tax portal session will time out after 15 minutes of inactivity. If you anticipate that you will be away from your computer for 15 or more minutes, then you should use the Save Draft button at the bottom of your screen to save your progress to that point. This prevents you from having to begin your data entry again from the beginning. After reading the instructions for Mary's PTFC STFC return, we see that we need the tax documents reporting her income, plus her rent receipts. As we do have this information handy, we will choose Next to continue. If we were a paid preparer, we would input the applicable information on this paid preparer screen. We are not, so we simply select Next. As we are filing a current year return, we are given the option of designating a third-party individual that MRS could speak with regarding this tax return. Please note that this designation cannot be given to an entire tax office, but rather to one specific person. Today, we choose not to authorize a third-party designee, and we proceed by selecting Next. We are brought to the filing information screen where we input the filing status of single, residency status of resident, and one exemption. Mary did not file a 2023 federal tax return, so we select no. Please notice when we do this, it does automatically answer several other questions on the screen. We are left with the remaining question: are you filing exclusively to claim the PTFC and/or the STFC? We answer yes, and then select next. The identification screen requires input of Mary's demographic information. We enter Mary's SSN, and then once more to confirm. We enter her first and last name, her telephone number, and her date of birth, which is January 10th, 1951. The bottom of the screen asks the taxpayer a few healthcare questions. This is new for the 2023 tax year and is the result of an initiative to allow the Maine Department of Health and Human Services to provide taxpayers with information about free or low-cost health insurance options available to them. Please note that these questions are optional, with a taxpayer choosing to receive information by selecting the last option that begins with "I would like." If that is selected, it authorizes MRS to provide your name and contact information to DHHS. If you do not select the "I would like" option, MRS will not provide anything to DHHS. Please note that MRS will not share your confidential tax information with DHHS, only the contact information that you authorize us to. Since Mary is already covered by health insurance, we do not check anything in these boxes and we select next to proceed. We input Mary's mailing address. And as previously demonstrated, once that's complete, we must click the blue Verify link to verify the address is formatted according to the U.S. Postal Records. We do see the address has been verified message once that's successful, and we can continue on. We're asked to input Mary's source of income. Mary receives $12,800 from her Social Security pension and has no other income. The last question on the screen is, are you or your spouse, if married filing jointly, rated 100% permanently and totally disabled by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs? Mary does not have this rating, so we will answer no and continue to the next screen. We are asked if Mary paid property tax or rent on her primary residence in 2023. She did pay rent, so we answer yes and then select next. We are now provided with guidance on what qualifies to be included as amounts paid for property tax or rent. The next step on this screen is to input the primary residence information and the total property tax or rent paid during 2023 that meets the guidelines above. We enter the primary residence information by clicking the blue plus sign. The physical address is the same as the mailing address we previously provided, so we choose yes and watch the information populate for us. Now we enter the rent paid in 2023, which was $5,400. This amount did not include any heat or other utilities, so we select no. And then we input the landlord's name and telephone number. And we select the Add button. Now we can see the residence information appears at the bottom of the screen. If we had another entry to make, we would repeat the steps we just took. Most taxpayers only have one entry if they lived in the same primary residence for the entire tax year, as Mary did. We'll choose next to continue. The summary screen displays, which shows the calculation of the PTFC and STFC credit that Mary is eligible for, as well as her expected refund. This is the amount we expected, so we will select next. We are given the opportunity to provide direct deposit information. This is optional and can be skipped by just selecting Next. If skipped, MRS will mail a check to the taxpayer. Mary would like to receive her refund faster, and it is more convenient to have it deposited into her checking account. We select Yes to direct deposit. We answer that the refund will not be directed to an account outside of the US, and then we enter Mary's bank routing and account information. We'll select Next to continue. The declaration screen displays. We check the box to declare that the information provided on this 2023 main income tax return is true and correct. We enter the name of the person filing the return, and then once more for confirmation. Then we'll choose Submit to transmit this filing to MRS. We are asked for a valid email address. This allows MRS to email that confirmation number to you for your records. Then we see the confirmation screen, which again displays that email address we previously input and the confirmation code. This will match the email that you receive, and we do encourage you to keep this information for your records as it is your proof of filing. Now I'll turn the presentation over to Jeff, where he will demonstrate the third topic today, how to file a more complex 1040ME return. Also, please remember to add your questions to the Q&A portion at any time.
Thank you, Lisa. We begin again on the main page of the main tax portal. Again, we navigate to the panel titled Individuals and click on File an Individual Return. Now we are going to file a 2023 main income tax return for Mark Smith Jr., a 40-year-old wage-earning Maine resident. We select the File an Individual Income Tax Return for 2023 link. Again, we are provided with instructions for the information we need to have ready to successfully complete this filing. We already have Mark's tax information handy, so we select Next. If we were a paid preparer, we would input the applicable information on the paid preparer screen. We are not, so we simply select Next. Since we are filing a current year tax return, we are given the option of designating a third-party individual that MRS can speak with regarding this tax return. Please note that this designation cannot be given to an entire tax office, but rather to one specific person. Today, we choose not to authorize a third-party designee and proceed by selecting Next. We are brought to the filing information screen. We input the filing status of head of household, residency status of resident, one exemption, and one dependent. Mark did file a 2023 federal income tax return, so we select Yes, but he did not itemize his deductions on that federal return. After answering all questions on the screen, we select Next. The identification screen requires us to input demographic information for Mark. We enter Mark's social security number, and then once more to confirm. We enter his first and last name, his suffix, his phone number, and his date of birth. We answer that Mark does not have health coverage and that his dependent does not have health coverage. We also authorize DHHS to contact Mark about free or low-cost options available. We indicate that mailing address is the preferred method of contact. We continue to the next screen. We input Mark's mailing address, and once that is complete, we must click the blue link to verify the address is formatted according to USPS records. We see a message of address has been verified. Once that is successful, and we can continue on to the next screen. We are asked to input W-2 information, including main income tax withheld. If you don't have any W-2 information to submit, you would select Next to proceed. We click the blue plus sign to add a W-2. Mark's name and social security number are already pre-populated, but we must fill in the remaining fields. We input the employer EIN, state of Maine as the employer, and address of 39 State House Station, Augusta, Maine, 04330. We then input the remaining information from Mark's W-2. We add his wages of $80,000, federal withholding of $6,000, Maine Public Employees Retirement System, or MPERS contributions of $4,500, the state ID again, the state wages of $84,500, and state withholding of $2,500. We then select Add. The table displays the state of Maine W-2 that we just added for Mark. If an error was made, you can either delete the entry by clicking the X or edit the entry by clicking on the pencil icon. A taxpayer would repeat the steps of adding a W-2 as many times as needed. Once all W-2 forms have been added, we select Next to continue. We are provided the same opportunity to add 1099-R forms on the next screen. Mark does not receive any retirement income, so we select Next to continue. We are brought to a summary of the Maine income tax withheld from the prior screens. If this correctly sums up all Maine income tax withheld amounts for your filing, then you may continue. If it does not, you may either go back to the prior screens to input data that was missed, or you may input it on the additional Maine income tax withholding line. This additional line allows for input of withholding that was not reported to a Maine taxpayer on either Form W-2 or 1099-R. Mark does have a 1099 INT statement with $5 of backup withholding, so we enter that now and select Next. We are asked to input Mark's federal adjusted gross income. We enter $80,000 and then Next. Income addition modifications are displayed. We already know that Mark had MPERS contributions from his previous W-2 entry, and we see this is already input for him. Mark does not have any other additions, so we continue by selecting Next. Income subtraction modifications are displayed. Mark does not have any to report, so we continue to the next screen. We are provided the first milestone in the filing process, the summary of federal adjusted gross income to the income tax calculation. This provides an opportunity to step back to a prior screen and make any needed adjustments or to continue onward. We will continue by selecting Next. We are now asked if Mark is claiming certain popular tax credits. Mark is not, so we leave the answers as no and continue to the next screen. We are offered the entire list of non-refundable credits. Mark does qualify for the dependent exemption tax credit of $300, and this is filled in for him. He does not qualify for other non-refundable tax credits, so we continue to the next screen. We are now offered the entire list of refundable tax credits. Mark does not qualify for any, so we continue to the next screen. The second milestone summary displays the gross tax less any applicable non-refundable credits. Mark's calculation is correct, so we continue to the next screen. We are asked if we want to file for the PTFC or STFC. Mark does not pay property tax or rent and knows that his income is too high for the STFC. So we answer no and then select Next. A third milestone summary appears where we see the sum of Maine income tax withheld and any applicable refundable credits displayed. Mark correctly only has main income tax withheld, so we select Next. Mark is given the opportunity to make charitable contributions or purchase state of Maine park passes. Mark chooses to contribute $50 to the Maine Veterans Memorial Cemetery Maintenance Fund. We select Next to continue. We are brought to the fourth and final milestone screen where we can see the net tax and net payments entered from the previous screens. We see this leaves Mark with an income tax underpaid, plus he has chosen to contribute to a charity. So he has an amount due of $879. This is as we had expected, so we select Next. The attachment screen contains a list of recommended attachments that could support your individual tax filing. An asterisk marks anything required to be attached. Today, we will input a PDF copy of Mark's Form W-2. We select the Add Attachment link, choose an attachment type from the list, browse for our file, and then click OK to attach it. We can see the check mark now appears on the Form W-2 type. This process can be repeated for each file type you wish to add. We have added our only file, so we select Next. The balance page displays the amount due, as computed during our tax return input. We are asked if we want to make a payment right now. We choose Yes, and then Next. We input the bank routing and account information and see that the payment defaults to today's date, but it can be changed to a future date. We choose to make payment in full today and confirm the full amount to pay by entering $879. We select Next to proceed. The summary screen displays a summary of the 1040 ME lines based on our prior input. We review this information one last time for accuracy and completeness. Once we are satisfied, we select Next. The declaration screen displays. We check the box to declare that the information provided on this 2023 Maine individual income tax return is true and accurate. We enter the name of the person filing the return, and then once more for confirmation. Then we choose Submit to transmit the filing to MRS. We are asked to input a valid email address. This allows MRS to email the confirmation number to you for your records. The confirmation screen displays the email address previously input and the assigned confirmation code. This will also match the email address that you receive. The confirmation code can be used to retrieve and print a summary of the return filed, which will be covered in a few minutes. We encourage you to save this information for your records as it is your proof of filing. I'll turn the presentation back over to Lisa, where she will provide the fourth demonstration of additional features on the Maine tax portal. Please remember to add your questions to the Q&A portion at any time.
Thank you, Jeff. So we've navigated back to the Maine tax portal home screen, and we're going to go to that individuals panel again, where we'd like to point out a few more actions a taxpayer could take advantage of. Since repetition is the key to learning, I'd like to remind everyone that all of the functions located in the panels below the image of the State House do not require a username. So let's take a look at some of those functions now. In this individuals panel, we just demonstrated the first link, how to file an individual return. We also demonstrated the second link, how to make a payment, at the beginning of our presentation. As a reminder, that is the link you would use to pay your quarterly estimated tax payments without having to log into the Maine tax portal. The third link in this panel is titled, Where's My Refund? We are asked to input the tax year from a drop-down list. As you can see, the drop-down list has the current tax year plus the prior 2 tax years. This is another exciting feature that is more taxpayer friendly than our previous refund lookup. Today, we will select 2022. We'll input the Social Security number of our taxpayer, and then once again to confirm it. And we'll enter their anticipated refund amount. And we'll select Search to receive results. So the results indicate that the return has been processed and the refund is approved. Our taxpayer should allow 2 weeks for that refund to be issued. All right, let's go back to the main tax portal home screen one more time. And the individuals panel again. The fourth link in the panel is titled Verify Identity. So this is an important new feature that I really want to emphasize today. Identity theft is on the rise throughout our country, and MRS is not immune from this. Each year, MRS receives fraudulent tax returns where someone else files a return to claim a refund that does not belong to them. Often, the real taxpayer does not know this occurred until MRS notifies them of it. MRS has many internal processes used to combat identity theft and tax refund fraud, but now we are able to supplement these processes with a more public component as well. Now, if MRS internal processes identify a tax return may be fraudulent, MRS will send an identity verification request letter to a taxpayer asking them for assistance in verifying whether they filed the return. An example of the letter is on your screen now. Identity verification is best handled using this main tax portal link, and it only takes a few minutes to complete. The letter contains a unique passcode, which gets the taxpayer started. The taxpayer will input that passcode into the Verify Identity link. The letter does inform the taxpayer to call MRS for assistance if they do not have internet access. Depending on the situation, a taxpayer may be asked to answer a few questions about themselves, or they may be asked to provide uploaded copies of certain legal documents like a driver's license or a passport. So MRS has included information regarding this identity verification letter in our tax alerts and other communications, but we wanted to make sure you heard about this feature now. We want taxpayers and tax preparers to be aware of the letter, the process, and that this information will be used to verify a main tax filing. In addition, failure to respond to the verification request letter will result in the presumption that the tax return was fraudulent. All right, let's go back to the home screen of the portal again. Another handy feature we would like to point out is located in the Additional Services panel at the Find a Submission link. Earlier, I mentioned that you could save a draft of a tax return filing if you had to step away to locate additional documentation. Saving a draft provides you with a confirmation code that you can use to retrieve the submission at a later time. A saved draft submission is saved for 120 days. You may also use this Find a Submission link to retrieve a submitted tax return, to print that copy, or to save it to your computer as a PDF file for your own record keeping. Again, this is where the saved draft and final return submissions would be accessed to finalize and submit your draft or print and save your submitted return filing. I would like to point out that when you use this feature to print your submitted main tax return, it will not quite look like the main tax return image that you're used to. It is a summarized version of each line and the numerical value submitted to MRS. It does not have a traditional main tax return format, but it is an acceptable proof of filing to keep for your records. Let's transition back to that home screen for another helpful function that we'd like to highlight today. Again, in the Additional Services panel, we find the Respond to a Letter link. Often, MRS mails correspondence to a taxpayer asking them to provide additional information to support their filing. If you or your client receives such a letter, use of this Respond to a Letter link is an easy and secure method to provide MRS with the additional information. Choosing this action will prompt you to enter the specific letter ID that you are responding to and the date of that letter. This information can be found in the upper right-hand corner of all MRS correspondence. Tyler will enter a letter ID and letter date now, and then he'll select Search. The screen returns the title of the letter for verification. We can confirm that our letter was a request for information, so we'll select Continue. We're now provided with an opportunity to type a message to MRS in the text box and to add any desired attachments. We're very excited about this method of taxpayer communication as it cuts down on mail delays and additional postage costs for our taxpayers. Less of a delay also helps MRS resolve our inquiry and issue the refund quicker. Let's cancel out of this action and return to the main screen of the main tax portal. All right, we've just demonstrated multiple functions that an individual income tax taxpayer can perform easily without being logged into a portal account. We're going to switch gears now to demonstrate how to create a username and then how to log into that portal account. So to create a username, we will select the Create a Username link. We are prompted with 4 choices. We are going to create a username for a person or an individual taxpayer, so we choose Individual and then Next. We review the list of required information. We do have our SSN and the tax amount due from one of our last 3 years of Maine individual income tax returns, so we select Next to proceed. We input the ID type of Social Security number, then we input the Social Security number itself, and the account type to validate against, which is individual income tax, and then we select Next. We are asked to select if we are verifying against the tax amount due or the refund amount. We choose the tax amount due, we enter that amount. We are also asked to enter the federal adjusted gross income from that same Maine tax return. And then we enter the tax year. And we select Next. Now we're prompted to create our username. And then we input the first and last name of our fictitious user. We enter the email address twice to confirm. And we also have to answer whether we want paperless mail delivery. Please note that some correspondence from MRS is legally required to also be mailed, so this will not be a completely paperless choice if yes is what you choose. Next, we must set up our security choices by inputting our password twice. Please notice the password hyperlink that provides information on MRS password requirements. Once we've entered our password, we do select a secret question from the list of choices, and then we input the answer. Lastly, we enter the primary phone number for our user, Melissa Gray. And when that's complete, we select Next. We are provided a summary of the contact information that we've input thus far. If we needed to make a change, we would use the previous button to step back and make any corrections. Everything appears to be correct, so we will select Submit to finish our username creation. Again, we're asked to input a valid email address. MRS will email a confirmation number to you for your records. And we see the familiar confirmation screen where we see the email address and the confirmation code. Let's go back to that home screen and we're going to log into our newly created account. So Tyler will input that username and password that he just created, and he'll choose Log In. Since this is our very first login, we are prompted to set up the two-step verification method that best suits our needs. We do prefer to receive text messages of our security code, so we choose the Add Phone link in the text message panel. We input our telephone number and our telephone carrier. And then we hit save. In a non-testing environment, we would be provided a text message with our security code, which we would input on this screen here. In our testing environment, we're going to hit this populate link to simulate that security code. Then we choose confirm. So please note that you'll only be asked to set up that verification method once, but you'll be required to input the new code each time you log in. So now we can see that we're logged into a main tax portal account for Melissa Gray, and we can see that we do have access to view the individual income tax account at the bottom of our screen. We do also see that Melissa has a balance due, so this is a perfect opportunity to turn it over to Jason, and he will discuss payment options.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. So we hope you've all been enjoying the webinar so far. I'll now be passing along some important information, and this is using the portal to make payments and request payment plans. So the following demonstrations that will be shown, this will be done while logged into your main tax portal. Okay, let's get started. Please do keep in mind as we begin that we would like to state that paying the tax due in full at the time of filing is a statutory requirement. However, we do realize other factors may come into play, and this could prevent you from making payment in full when it's due. Examples could include there's additional interest, maybe penalties for filing and or paying late, or possibly an adjustment to the tax due after you've already filed the return. We're going to continue with the individual here that was used for the prior demonstration. So we're on the main tax portal now, and this is the summary page where you begin when you first log in. There is a make a payment hyperlink that's shown right on the account here. If we click on this, this will allow us to pay a debt for the tax type it's located in, which is the individual account in this instance. So we're going to make a payment towards that account while we're logged in. After we click on this, we're going to see the payment screen. Our payment type will default to direct debit from a US bank account. We're going to begin by entering in the bank routing number. This should populate the bank name. The next thing we'll enter is the account number. We'll also need to do this a second time to confirm they match. We'll then need to select the bank account type that it's associated with, and there is an option for checking or savings. Since this is a logged in activity, we are prompted for an option to save this payment channel for future use. This could be handy if you've come in here would like to save your information. We're going to select no for this demonstration. On the payment type drop-down menu on the right-hand side, there are going to be different payment types. This could vary depending on the tax type and if you have a debt. To pay a liability, though, you would use an account payment or a return payment. The account payment would just make a general payment towards the entire income tax account in this case, or you could specify the payment to go towards a specific return period, for example. That's the one we're going to demonstrate. So Tyler's going to select the return payment option, and it will ask us which period to apply it to. We do have a debt on 2021, so that's the one we're going to select. Now, if we select a period and the due date for the return or the payment has already passed, the payment due date would default to today's date because it's already past due. If, however, we're paying a return that may not even be due yet, we would have an option to put in a future due date. We're going to stick with today's date as we do know this debt's past due. Our next option would be to select the payment amount that we want to pay. On returns that are past due, you would actually have a choice. You could pay the current balance or an other amount. Do keep in mind, if you do pay a lesser amount, this could cause interest and or penalties to continue accruing. And for returns that are not yet due, you could enter in what you wish. We're going to demonstrate the other amount, and then we'll enter in 500 for our payment amount. and you'll need to confirm this amount by entering it a second time. So if you've just created your account here, please be mindful. Once we submit the payment, it will ask us to enter in our main tax portal password. So please have that handy to make sure you're able to submit the payment. Once we enter in that password and click OK, we're going to get a confirmation page here. So you may want to go ahead and write this number down. You can refer to this later. After we click on OK, this will bring us back to the summary page where we began initially. So as we finish up this first part of our payment demonstration, I would like to point out that credit card payments may be available as an option, but only if the bill item meets certain criteria. So by default, MRS, Main Revenue Services, cannot take credit card payments on brand new debt. The debt would need to be final, and the rights to the reconsideration timeframe must have already passed. With that being stated, I would like to move on to our next topic, but before doing so, just remind everyone you can continue to ask your questions down below through the Q&A chat button at any time, and we'll answer those as soon as we're able to. The next thing I would like to show is how to create a payment plan request. So this is a logged in activity, and this option is found right on the summary page where we are now. And it's shown when you first log in. It's right to the right of the customer banner, and it says make a payment plan. And this is helpful for those taxpayers that may not be able to pay the entire balance in full. So we're going to go ahead and select that hyperlink there to take us to the next screen. As we begin this process, just make sure all of your returns have been filed and you're not missing any, because this could cause your payment plan to be delayed or rejected. If everything's current and you're up to date, you can then proceed. Just a couple things on this screen. There is a save draft option similar to other screens that we've been on, especially filing the income tax return, for example. You can pick this back up later. It will give you a confirmation number, and you can find that through your Find Submissions link on the main tax portal page. This is pretty quick, so we're probably not going to need that. There's also a previous button, which is right next to next, and that's grayed out, but that just allows you to jump back a page and make some edits. So we'll show that in a little bit. So the first part of the payment plan process is we just want to submit the schedule. So there's a few things we have to specify, and the first one will be whether that's all of the debt on your main tax portal account, and this is even debt that's not due yet. So important discrepancy, there is past due debt. And this is for your outstanding debt. So that's the one we're going to show today. So we're going to click on that. And then below that, we're actually going to select our install type. And this is basically the how many months you need the payment plan for. So you can put this as how many months you'd like the payment plan for, or you could select the dollar amount, the installment amount. So maybe like a dollar amount. Tyler's going to show the installment amount, and then we're going to enter in 500 in the installment field because this is the amount that we'd like to pay. We're going to choose a due date. So by default, this would have to be between 10 to 14 days from today's date. After you've got that date in there, all you have to do now is click Next. This will take us to the installment breakdown screen. So this is pretty important. So just take a moment to review that and take note of the amount of payments that you have in here, how much you're accruing, if anything, for interest and penalty. And, maybe if you want to increase your payment, you had a second thought, you could hit previous and then adjust the amount. So very easy to do, and you can see how it reflects the installment schedule here. But in this case, we're satisfied with what we see, and we'll proceed by clicking on Next. So here is where we're actually going to select a bank account for the payment plan. So if you're new in the portal, you're probably not going to have an account here because it doesn't transfer from our older systems, but it's very easy to set it up. So just keep in mind what you set here is the account that's going to be automatically electronically drawn. So all of your payments in that schedule will come out automatically from this account. You don't have to schedule those yourself. So we're going to add a bank account. There's a hyperlink there to enter in one. And it will ask us to put in an account nickname. This can be anything you want to help recognize your particular account, maybe if you have more than one. Following that is the actual bank name that you'll put in, followed by the account number, and then the routing number. And like before, you'll have to specify if it's a checking or a savings. And once you're finished there, you can click Add. And at this point, you should see the bank account listed as an available payment method. You could add further accounts if needed, but at this point, that's the one we're going to show. So we're going to click Next. And here is a confirmation, and this has important information about the payment plan, which needs to be acknowledged before you can submit this. So please take a moment and read through that. There's a box that you can tick to acknowledge you've read it, and then you would submit the payment plan. And here you're going to get a confirmation. So please make a note of that number. And then we're going to click on OK. So this has submitted your payment plan. A couple things that we'll show here. So while this payment plan is pending, you can actually search the submission and make a withdraw to the submission for editing, or maybe you've decided you would like to delete your request. So I just wanted to show a few of these features, and this is done while you're logged into your portal. So under the More tab here, you're going to click on that. And you've got a bunch of options here, but the one you're going to want is submissions in the upper left, and there's search submissions. So you're actually going to see the two things that we did here, the payment and the request payment plan. So in this case, we're actually going to click on the request payment plan. And then from here, we're going to see a couple options in the upper right, withdraw and delete. So if we click on withdraw, this will allow us to make some edits to the submission. So Tyler is going to demonstrate a small change to the payment plan here by continue editing, and then we're just going to increase the dollar amount. We decided we want to pay a little bit more and get it paid off faster. He's going to quickly go through the next few screens because we've shown this before. This is very easy. And once we submit this, we're going to get a new confirmation number, which overrides the previous one. Okay, so we just made a change. You could see that only took like a minute. We're going to click OK. And if we've decided at this point we don't want this payment plan, we could then click on delete. And then it's just clicking on yes and then OK. So very easy here. And you can see it's deleted. Now we're going to back up one and then check out our other submissions. We also have a payment. If you wanted to do some edits to that payment, you could still do so. Just keep in mind you may only have a limited amount of time before that payment actually processes to make changes. So if you come in here, you see something pending, you probably have an option to withdraw or delete it. So some functionality that you have while you're logged into the portal. This is a big change from not being logged in. So we just wanted to show that. Regarding a payment plan, so these do need to be approved by Maine Revenue Services, and just the act of requesting one does not necessarily delay the collection activity. The payment plan would need to be approved. However, while it is approved and active, any collection on those debts within the payment plan would just cease. Once the payment plan is approved, you'll actually get an installment agreement letter, and this will be sent to your Maine tax portal account. This will outline the terms of the agreement. If for some reason it wasn't approved or we require some further information, a Maine Revenue Services staff member will reach out to you via telephone to discuss. As we close out this payment demonstration, I just wanted to show a final piece of functionality which we've been improving since the Maine tax portal was launched. You may have noticed there's a moose with some sunglasses here in the upper right hand corner. This is our virtual assistant. So if you click on this moose, you can actually ask MRS Moose basically some questions. So just to kind of demonstrate this, you could ask the moose how to make a payment. And it's going to be very useful. And this may save you from reaching out to us, for example, via email. It's going to give you some options here, and it may even sometimes give you links to access parts of the Maine tax portal right from this help menu. So very useful. If you have some questions, you may give that a try, and it may answer some of those right there for you. But thank you all for listening. I hope you have found this very helpful. I'm going to turn the floor over now to Michael Fortin to give us some closing information.
Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate it. Nicely done. We would like to invite our audience to send in any questions you may have. If you've not already done that, there is still a little time. You can please submit your questions. Several of our attendees have already made use of the Q&A area, and you'll find the questions and answers posted in there. So please take advantage of that. While we're waiting for those last questions to come in, I'd like to show you our main tax portal information page, which contains a lot of helpful information. Be a great way to learn about the main tax portal. What you see on your screen now is the Maine Revenue Services homepage. The address is maine.gov/revenue. And we'll scroll the page down, and you'll see the heading Important Updates in orange there. And if we go down a bit, you'll see a link there. It says Important Information about the Maine Tax Portal. We're going to click that link. And that'll bring us right to the Maine Tax Portal information page. And if you'd like to navigate directly here, you can type into your web browser maine.gov/revenue/portal. And I'll give you that address a few times here as we talk about this. So let's take a look at this page. You'll see at the top an introduction. Just beneath it, there's a short introduction video that just a nice overview of the Maine tax portal. That's new. You can check that out. Beneath that, you'll see 4 blue boxes. Says rollout 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if we hover our mouse over those boxes, those will give you a listing of each of the different tax types that were introduced at each phase of the Maine tax portal. This is a multi-year project that's been rolled out over several years. And we've just completed rollout 3 in October of 2023. So as we hover over that, we can see the listing of those taxes that were most recently brought in, including individual income tax, which is at the very top. And if you're curious, you can look ahead to rollout 4 and see what is coming this October for the final rollout of the Maine tax portal. And at that point, everything will be up and running in the system. So very exciting. Beneath those 4 boxes, we have some buttons. You'll see the Maine tax portal login button there. So it's a quick way to jump from this page over to the portal itself if you'd like to do that. The next button is FAQs. We're going to take a look at the FAQs. FAQs come from attendees of webinars, just like yourself, who have sent questions in to the Q&A. We have taken those questions and summarized them and organized them so they're easy to find. So I would guess that if you have a question, or if one that may come up in the future, there's a good chance it's in this list. So it's a great way to learn about the Maine tax portal. So we would invite you to check it out. So we're going to click back now and look at the next button, instructional videos. So we're going to click on that. The instructional videos are short little video snippets for demonstrate different features and functions of the Maine tax portal. So if you want to learn, how to file a return, for example, there's a little video that shows you exactly how to do that, and it navigates through. And that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you have a question, you don't have to wait. You can check on those videos, and I'm sure you'll find it very, very helpful. There's one video I'd like to point out in particular to those of you in the audience who use a tax preparer, or if we have any tax practitioners that are in the audience, under the Getting Started section on the top there, you'll see the second video from the top says setting up a third-party account. That will demonstrate exactly how to set up third-party access for the Maine tax portal for your tax preparer. So if any practitioners who have a client that you would like to get access to their Maine tax portal account and see their information, and if they agree to that, then the video will explain the steps that each party will take in order to set up that connection. So it's very, very easy, very, very helpful. And if you're interested, please view that video. All right, so we're going to go back now. And one final button I'll just comment on is the tax professionals button there. So if we have any tax professionals here, there is a page with resources for you and for your clients. There is a quick, like a downloadable cheat sheet, if you will, that has different tips and tricks about the main tax portal, and you find it very, very helpful to introduce your clients to the main tax portal, and that is all available for you. At the bottom of the page, the olive green colored section, you'll see a couple of buttons about webinars. Today is the final session for the individual income tax series. We've been running these since September and have been pleased to bring these to you. But if you know someone who still has not had an opportunity to attend and they would like to, or if you just simply like to review the material, you have some options. For one is that all of you in attendance today will get a link to watch a recording of today's specific session. You'll get that tomorrow. But if you would like to invite your friends, or if you just like to, at a later point, decide you want to go back and review some of the material, all of the past webinar recordings are on that second button where it says recording of past webinars. You can access those. We have all of the webinars for our previous rollouts as well. So if you're interested in sales tax or withholding tax, for example, there are sessions that you can watch and will demonstrate exactly how the portal works for each of those tax types. So, so after today, shortly, you will see the website updated with a recording for the individual income tax series. So that will be another way of getting access to those recordings. And finally, our contact information, if you would like to reach out to us, we have an email address and a phone number, and that's listed right underneath the 4 rollout boxes there. The email address, I'll give you that first. I'll give it to you a couple of times. It's taxpayerassist@maine.gov. It's MAINE.gov. So one more time, taxpayerassist@maine.gov. The telephone number is 207-624-9784. One more time, 207-624-9784. That's those resources, the email and the phone number are the best way to get main tax portal questions answered, and there's a team dedicated to do that. So we appreciate your attention on all of this and hope you find it helpful. We're moving towards the end now of our webinar. Before we wrap up, I'd like to thank all our presenters for a great job today, for Lisa, Jeff, Jason, Tyler, and Lydia for your help in presenting all this material. And we need to thank all of our attendees for taking the time out of your day to join us for the main tax portal, and I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed it. As a reminder, we have recorded today's webinar. It can be viewed by anyone who's registered who may have missed a portion for any reason, and you'll get an email in your box tomorrow with a link to go to the Zoom website and view the recording. If anyone did submit a question today that we couldn't address live here during the webinar, we will follow up via email following today's session. We'd like to recap those few important points that we've discussed today. We gave you a lot of information, so but we just need to step back and remember that the main tax portal is now open for individuals and for most Maine businesses to file and pay taxes, view notices. As you can see, you can do a whole lot more, and you can visit the MTP information page, and that gives you access to all of the FAQs, the short video, the instructional videos, all of the educational materials for the main tax portal available 24/7. That address is maine.gov/revenue/portal. And you You can also contact us. Our email address, one more time, is taxpayerassist@maine.gov, and that telephone number is 207-624-9784. So once again, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us today, and we'll end today's webinar. We hope you have a great rest of your day.